This was a spur of the moment invitation. We're up in Kaga at the moment, waiting for the temple opening there. And I thought it'd be nice to come and visit Brother Rasbihari and go on a tie and Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman. It's always be good, very good to be here in Mumbai, the scene of one of the greatest battles that Prabhupada had in establishing ISKCON. This was the second big temple after Vrindavan that Prabhupada constructed. And as he used to say, it's the best in Bombay. So now you say best in Mumbai, but so I thought it'd be interesting to read a couple of letters written by Saurabh Prabhu. Who knows Saurabh? Any of you? One or two? Yes, he was the architect for this building. He tells the story about how he got involved. He'd seen the devotees once or twice in Holland, where he was from. He was a Dutchman. And then he flew to India. And by somehow or another, he connected with the devotees. And I can't remember all the details, but it was just an amazing thing that he walked in. And within one day, he had shaved his head. Then he went to see Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada asked him, I hear you're an architect. So he knew some design work, actually. He wasn't really an architect, but he was a designer. So then Prabhupada immediately gave him a sheet of paper and a pencil. Said, now, draw it. So he said he spent the next hours and days drawing the blueprint for this temple. So it's just amazing. One of those typical things that when Prabhupada needed something to be done, then Krishna would send along the right person to do it. And Saurabh was an amazing guy, actually. Very intelligent, very sober. And he has a brother, Hare Krishna Das, in Holland. He was worth about $100 million at one time. And then his business went bust. But he was initiated also. So anyway, Saurabh was really the driving force for building Vrindavan Temple, this temple. He was working on a design for Mayapur as well. And eventually he went, and I think he did Dallas Temple and a few other places. So I thought it'd be good to just look at some of the exchanges that Saurabh had with Prabhupada in the course of building this temple. This is in May of 1976. So at that time, the building of this temple had been put in the hands of a big company called Larsen and Toubro. They had their experience in Vrindavan, where ISKCON devotees, means Saurabh, Gaurunanava, and others. They were the main contractor, and then they were taking subcontracts to do all the particular kinds of work. But it was a struggle because they didn't have the experience, and they were being cheated in many ways, because Prabhupada, as soon as he arrived anywhere, he would immediately see what the place was like, whether it was being managed properly. And he could understand it was very difficult for the devotees to be the actual contractor. So when Prabhupada left Vrindavan and came down here to Mumbai, he inspected the site. They just brought some building materials from Vrindavan down to Mumbai and by truck, and then they were going to start the whole process again. But Prabhupada saw that the devotees were a little out of their depth, and so he negotiated with Larsen and Toubro, and they made an arrangement that Prabhupada would pay them $70,000 a month, and they would take on the project and bring it to completion, I think, within 1 year. Is that right? So a lot of money was being spent to develop this project, and Prabhupada wanted regular reports. He wanted to see what was going on. So this letter from May 20th. May the 20th, 1976. Prabhupada was in Hawaii. He spent 1 month there in the month of May. He went there specifically to avoid any managerial problems. And Hawaii's there in the middle of nowhere, so there's no through traffic. And Prabhupada was able to concentrate on his writing. And normally when we traveled around, we had Prabhupada's dictaphone, and it had a digit counter. So 1 to 999 or something, like the clickers. So as you recorded on the tape, then the digit would notch up 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So Prabhupada normally, when he was doing his translation work, he would do 2 or 3 digits a night. But when he came to Hawaii, and he had spoken with Rameshwara Swami at that time from the BBC about how to improve their production of Prabhupada's books. And so Rameshwara suggested you can go to Hawaii for 1 month, and then we can really get a lot of work done. So Prabhupada did that, and his output increased about 6 or 7 times. He was really took advantage of the time, not just to relax, but he started translating in the daytime, which it was a new experience for me. I've been on the party about 6 months at that time, and Prabhupada always translated in the middle of the night. But in Hawaii, he was translating in the daytime also. And Hayagriva Prabhu, Prabhupada's original English professor, editor, he had been away for some time, so he rejoined Prabhupada to take up some active service again in May. And so Prabhupada was meeting with him 2 to 3 hours in the afternoon, every afternoon. They were discussing Western philosophers and the Vedic viewpoint. Spiritual dialecticism was the name that Prabhupada gave that book. We used to call it the philosophy book. So he was doing that and doing the Bhagavatam. So practically his whole day and night, and I mean night. There was once or twice when Prabhupada rang the bell to summon me at 9 o'clock at night, and he told me, no massage tonight, I'm working. Prabhupada used to take a massage every evening, but he was so into the books, he's working on the 8th canto. So he rang the bell, my myself and Pushpa Krishna Swami, who was Prabhupada's secretary. We both went into Prabhupada's room. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. So Prabhupada told us that he wasn't feeling very well. He had a diseased kidney, so that gave him a lot of trouble. But he said, I'm not feeling so well, so I won't go on the morning walk. And then he pressed his dictaphone and he started playing back to us what he was translating. So we spent an hour in his room, Prabhupada just preaching to us from the Bhagavatam. This is 1 o'clock in the morning. And Prabhupada's ill, but still he couldn't resist speaking about Krishna. So during that period, he was still, of course, receiving mail. And Saurabh Prabhu sent him a letter. He informed His Divine Grace that the Bombay construction is going forward on time and to a good standard. He therefore had time to put into the Mayapur project. He has nearly completed the design for a new house for Srila Prabhupada just next to the pukur near the front gate. Of course, that changed when Prabhupada left the planet following year. Then what was going to be his residential quarters was transformed into his Pushpa Samadhi. Although he said he had enclosed the plans, they were not in the letter. He also suggested that the basement of the new building on the northern boundary, that's what we call the long building, that should be used to house some exhibition, so that Srila Prabhupada had originally requested that he put in a building of its own just to the south side of the existing temple and guest house. Saurabh explained that according to his master plan, when the temple of the Vedic planetarium is built, its main thoroughfare would dissect such a building in that position. He wanted Prabhupada's advice on what to do. Saurabh also gave a final accounting of the Vrindavan property. Initially, he had reported a total expenditure of 43 lakhs. But after revising the figures, he concluded that the total spent was only 40 lakhs 50,000. This is only 50,000 above the original estimate. So now you can see, what was that, 50 years ago? 76 to 48 years. So how things have changed. This Kaha project, was it 250 crores? Vrindavan, it seems like a bargain compared to that. Prabhupada spent 25 lakhs building the guest house in Vrindavan. And initially we weren't getting any response. People were not coming. And Prabhupada would get very intense, and he would tell off Gopal Krishna Maharaj and Saurabh Prabhu, why people are not coming to the guest house. He said, if I'd have taken that money and put it in fixed deposit, I'd get back more from that way than from trying to run it as a guest house. Because running a guest house, it was one of the Prabhupada's formulas to have a temple, have a restaurant, and people could come and stay in the guest house. And in that way, then they would at least spend 1 or 2 nights in our temple. They'd hear the chanting, maybe inquire about the philosophy, etc. So it's a way of, otherwise as sadhus, what business do we have running restaurants or guest houses? Yeah, the saying is that the sadhu can live under a tree. But if we planted a bunch of trees here in Juhu Beach, who would come? But you've got lakhs and lakhs of people coming. every year. So this is all for preaching. It's not for sense gratification. So that was the final tally on the Vrindavan temple, that they'd spent 40 lakhs 50,000. He ended his letter with a suggestion for earning income when the Bombay temple is complete. A life member told him that many well-to-do and religious Indian families will want to conduct their marriage ceremonies at the temple. By providing facilities for this, the temple could support itself. For marriages, Indians spend huge amounts of money, he said. Our center seems to be perfect to have sometimes such ceremonies which can be done very sophisticated and religiously. We have all the facilities like guest house, prasadam restaurant, temple, theater, lobby. So also for preaching, there is hardly a better way to come in contact with some important people at the same time. So Prabhupada was puzzled by Saurabh's mention of a basement in the new Mayapur building. He asked for more information on this and told him that he could postpone his plans for the exhibition building until he had completed the whole Mayapur site plan, which is interesting. Prabhupada was saying right from the beginning that in Mayapur we had to have a site plan. We had to know what every inch of space was going to be used for. But for years and years we've been trying to get a master plan for Mayapur, and they still haven't implemented it. So this is one thing we have to rectify. So Saurabh was recommending that we put in an exhibition on the ground basement level of the long building. And as far as Bombay is concerned, Prabhupada is interested in the idea of providing facilities for marriages with one proviso. No marriages may be done before the deities. He asked Saurabh to provide details on where the marriages would take place. So many of our temples now, because we have large Indian population, so they conduct ceremonies. But this is the one important point, that you're not to do it in front of the deities. The couple can come and have darshan, then they have their marriage, then they can come back and see the deity again. But not that they should do their tying the hard knot in front of the deities. Prabhupada is so carefully supervising the Bombay project that before any bills can be paid to the contractor, Gopal Krishna, Giriraj, and Saurabh all have to provide a final signed seal of approval. This then is sent to Prabhupada, who then writes to the bank to authorize the transfer of money. So Prabhupada was so careful about how money got spent. So 3 men had to all verify the bona fide of the request. Then it had to go to Prabhupada himself. And then when he signed off on it, then the money could be paid. Okay, so that's a letter from May. I'll just do one more letter here from June. Prabhupada had moved from Hawaii to, he gone to Los Angeles, then he went to Detroit, and then he went to Toronto. And this letter from Saurabh came to Prabhupada in Toronto. Saurabh Das, our India-based architect, also sent a letter to clarify his plans for Prabhupada's residence in Mayapur. His letters have been crossing over Srila Prabhupada's replies, resulting in some confusion. So now he has stated clearly what is currently planned and requested Prabhupada's response. He is actually planning 2 residences, a main one to be built in the future, and another, a kutir. This kutir will be situated near the existing west gate at the corner of the small lake, and it will be for Prabhupada's interim use until the city is built. According to the master plan, the future main residence will be on top of the one of the Gurukul buildings, nearer to the main temple at the northeast corner. This is intended to be at least 60 feet high, and Prabhupada gets plenty of breeze and sun and is free from disturbance. So that was the idea. We build Prabhupada's residence a little away from the main track of where the tourists come. The proposed kutir incorporates most of what is suggested in the original residential plan, which he saw having closed, but with a few improvements to the balconies to allow more light and air. He assured Prabhupada that this building would be away from any noise and disturbance and would give complete facility for Srila Prabhupada, his servants, and any important guests that he may want to stay with him. Prabhupada endorsed the current plan, although he expressed some doubts about his future residence being situated over the Gurukul. As for the kutir, he liked the idea of being near the Ganges, where he could take his daily bath in the summer. As long as trees, plants, and flowers were planted all around for privacy, he felt it would be fine. The only thing that he asked him to do was reconsider the inclusion of the kitchen in the main part of the ground floor. To avoid noise, he suggested it should be separate, as in his Vrindavan quarters. So that's a couple of interesting letters about Bombay, Saurabh, and we see the fruits now beyond our conception 50 years ago, what could be the situation. So Uttama Prabhu is our PR man for the whole society. There's some remarkable things taking place. And just like this recent election in America. So we've now got an American president who doesn't smoke or drink. Whatever else he may be, he doesn't smoke or drink. He's got a vice president whose wife is a Hindu, and she forced her husband to become a vegetarian. So this is the the president and the vice president. And the president, he's given one of the most important services in the American government, National Director of Intelligence. I mean, it's an incredibly powerful position to Tulsi Gabbard, whose parents are initiated devotees, as far as I know. And she's committed. She was the first congresswoman to swear their oath on the Bhagavad-gita and not the Bible. So it could be Krishna is moving things in such a way that we may sooner than later have a woman Hindu Hare Krishna president at the biggest country in the world. If you look back to when we first started, you read about the early temples, the early devotees, the struggles that they had. Even in London, we were arrested regularly for chanting in the streets. Everybody thought that we were lunatics. But now, a couple of years ago, they had this Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister of England. So don't underestimate what we're doing here. Prabhupada's plan is just beginning to unfold. His plan was to change the entire social structure of the whole world. And now we're starting to see it could happen. It could actually happen. There was a letter that Bhagavatam sent to Prabhupada in late 1976. And he described how one legislator makes the law. He had gone on a TV show, and this man sounded the alarm about the Hare Krishna devotees. He said, this Hare Krishna movement is spreading so fast, it's like a disease, an epidemic. He said, if we allow it to continue, within 10 years, they may take the whole government. So Prabhupada was in ecstasy when he read that. He said, spreading like an epidemic. So this is our business, not to sit comfortably. We can build big temples, but if you don't do any preaching, if you don't do make the effort to educate people and convince them of the validity of the truth of the Vedic literature, then what's the use of such big buildings? They just become a burden. So we don't want these kinds of burdens. In Vrindavan in 1975, Prabhupada came and visited, and the devotees were struggling to get everything up to the right standard. And each morning when Prabhupada went to greet the deities, he found something wrong. And he would tell them, correct this, correct that. And then finally one morning, they opened up the curtains for Krishna and Balaram, and there are no garlands on. Prabhupada got really annoyed. He said, this is another farce. And then he gave a class, and he said, if you don't have any bhava, any real feeling for what you're doing, then when I'm gone, you'll simply say, oh, this old man, he's given us nothing but a burden. So he said, don't let it become a burden. Develop your genuine sentiments to the deities, and this Krishna consciousness movement will flourish. But there's no point in having 18 temples coming up in Delhi if you don't manage them properly. So management means book distribution, prasadam distribution, and education, teaching people about the real spiritual nature of this world and ourselves and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by all means, build big temples, but don't let them become, what was it, Galagraha, a burden. Okay, so I'm going to finish there. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any quick questions or comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the nice class. Prabhuji, we regularly hear that Srila Prabhupada converted this many digits in his translation.
Say that slower.
Yeah. So when we read Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrit, we see that there's a quote like this many digits have been translated in his dictaphone.
What about his dictaphone?
So how many, like this digits indicates pages or how it?
You mean that the counter on the dictaphone? How many pages?
Yes, yes.
That I don't know. A lot. Prabhupada's system was actually, he had Pradyumna Prabhu, who was a self-taught Sanskritist that joined ISKCON very early on. And he was with Prabhupada probably more than any other devotee in the movement. He traveled with Prabhupada on many occasions. The first time I saw him was in 1972 in Sydney when I joined. Prabhupada came 6 weeks later in April. He initiated everybody in the temple, even including some devotees that had only been in the temple about a week. And so Pradyumna was supposed to work ahead of Srila Prabhupada by translating the Sanskrit verses and doing the antonyms, is it? The word for words. And then Prabhupada would be left free to do his purports. So he wanted Pradyumna to do the section of the Bhagavatam that he was working on. Plus, there was a book with 12 or 14 commentaries from different acharyas. And Prabhupada would, many of that was in Sanskrit, so Prabhupada would read that, and then with the verse, he would make his purport. Unfortunately, Pradyumna Prabhu was a bit of a space case. It's one of these like mad professors. He's very super intelligent, but a little bit adrift in other ways. And so it never really got to that point where they got the system working well. Prabhupada ended up having to do all the translation work himself. So that costs a lot of time. But as far as specifically how much information you get on one click of the counter, I don't know.
Put you one more question. Can I ask one more question?
I'm a bit...
You must ask another question.
Yes.
Yeah. Prabhuji, you said that we have to develop this bhav for deities.
He said we have to just develop this bhav.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Can you explain it, Prabhuji, how to do it?
He wants to know how to do that.
Regulate your senses, control your mind, sharpen your intelligence by reading Prabhupada's books, and the bhava will come. You don't need to artificially do it. Our process is that you follow the standard procedures. They're given by the acharyas. They're written in such a way that automatically, at a certain point of purification, when all your anartas are finished, then you start to get some ruchi. Sometimes we see, and I'm not particularly criticizing anybody here, but sometimes we see on the internet some large gatherings of devotees and singing, and there's maybe 1,000 people in a hall. It's becoming very popular, kirtan. But then they get into Radhe, 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 Govinda, Radhe, like this. Somebody told me that one such singer had gone to the Middle East and told the audience there that, do you want to know how to get the fast track to Radharani? I'll show you. And then they just, boom, it's Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. That's not going to help. Of course, Radharani is always helpful, but you won't get the real prem from inventing your own processes. Yeah, Jayadvaita Maharaj came out with a book about the standards of kirtan. So it's very clear what Prabhupada wanted and what he didn't want. In Mayapur, it's out of control, actually. They get on the microphone and, Nadi Bihari, and hey, Hare Krishna, ho, Hare Krishna, bolo Hare Krishna. All these are all interpolations. They're not necessary. Prabhupada said if you chant Bhaja Hare Krishna, then what is that? So that is not Shastra. It's the holy name, but that's not the way the Shastra says you chant. So he said these other additions or subtractions that will dampen the effect because it's an offense to create your own mantras. So we have to be very careful that we don't, as we expand as a movement, we don't end up having huge numbers of sahajiyas, people that get together and dance and wave their arms and look like they're in ecstasy, and then they go out and have intoxication, illicit sex, or whatever. That's going on. Bhaktivinoda Thakur warned us about it. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati warned us about it. Srila Prabhupada warned us about it. Take the authorized path, that's all. And be patient. It will come. The Baba is there. Already some is there. In 1976, when Prabhupada came to Mayapur for the festival, then from the verse, he started talking about bhava. So he said, everybody's got a bhava. The politicians have got a particular bhava. The mother and father have got a particular bhava, some feeling, and then they're attached. So we've got this building. It's nothing compared to what they're building in big cities. This was the Lotus building, 4-story guest house. They said, what is that? But yet thousands of young men and women have spent thousands of dollars just to come here to this small building. Why? Because they experienced some bhava. So that's what we want. We want to develop that strong attachment to the holy names, Gornitai, Radha, Rasbihari. So just stick around. That's all. Don't go anywhere else. Other people may have the same philosophy. They may have the same methodology even. But Prabhupada was the one who manifested the potency to spread this all over the world. So we have to be respectful to that and keep with the energy, the effort that Prabhupada put in, and honor him in that way. As this movement becomes more and more famous, Prabhupada becomes more and more famous. So that's our goal. All right? Okay, we'll finish there. So thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. And if anybody wants to get a copy of Transcendental Diary, this is the diary I kept with Prabhupada. That's over 1 year in 1975-76. They're available where? All right. So no. This is my secretary, Abhay Charan Prabhu. If anybody would like to get copies of the Transcendental Diary, apparently there's no stock here, but we can arrange to send them. So if you're interested, give your name to Abhay. He's going to be here for the next 15 minutes, and then we're going back to Kaga. So thank you all very much.